The fact this list is something of a spiritual sequel to another one of our videos from around a year ago tells you all you need to know about AEW's penchant for calling out Vinnie Mac's empire in increasingly creative ways. In-ring digs at untouchable poster boys, and more visual gags than you can shake a stick at, are just a few of the ways the land of All Elite have made a routinely inspired and frequently cheeky mockery of the biggest wrestling promotion on the planet. So with that in mind, I'm Gareth from What Culture Wrestling, and here are 10 times AEW fired shots at WWE. Number 10, a cheeky gift for Papa Buck. In one of the most recent examples of Vince McMahon and WWE in general having more power than sense, it was revealed that leg slapping was now a strict no-no in March. Well, it's a good thing 75% of the names occupying Raw, SmackDown, and NXT don't boast a superkick, enziguri, or running knee in their go-to arsenal, isn't it? Determined to not let this farce pass them by without at the very least referencing the infamous paper signs stuck up in the backstage WWE area, AEW's resident tongue-in-cheek merchants, the Young Bucks, could not resist shoehorning the ruling into an episode of Dynamite shortly after, as Don Callis offered his well wishes to the AEW World Tag Team Champions' father after Papa Buck was beaten down by Le Champion and MJF a few weeks earlier. He came bearing a gift, a t-shirt with the phrase "Do not slap leg when kicking" for Papa Buck. The speed in which the shirt was disregarded, coupled with the Bucks seeming to dial up the slap velocity on their superkick party for a few weeks, spoke more than words ever could. Number 9, you can take your brass ring. After years of being underutilized, ignored, and even told the gimmick he almost single-handedly made the biggest thing in the company for a time was nothing more than fans effing with him, the former Rusev wasted little time calling out his former bosses. Taking aim at the glass ceiling he'd been trapped beneath for 10 years, Miro proceeded to almost personally tell Vince McMahon where he could stick his imaginary brass ring. Even the star's initial persona upon arriving in his new home felt like a not-so-subtle jibe, as Miro luxuriated in becoming Kip Sabian's best man, throwing shade at WWE's consistently odd creative for the freakishly talented Bulldozer. As Miro has found his feet in Tony Khan's playground, his insistence on letting fly at his former employers when the opportunity arises has become more prevalent, even recently accusing the sports entertainment empire of being a glorified turkey farm. Yep, it's on Twitter, go find it. Number 8, you're all invited to the third party. It wasn't just the WWE stars charged with shutting down their own personal Twitch streams and Cameo accounts who called out the unquestionable absurdity of the situation, though. Once again, not missing a beat when it came to firing off a shot or two at a frankly ridiculous ruling, All Elite Wrestling used their all-out pay-per-view platform to send out a clear message. Kip Sabian and Penelope Ford, fresh off of announcing the impending reveal of a certain best man, held up a sign promoting the former's personal Twitch account, hammering home the fact that AEW is more than happy to allow their talents the freedom to explore third-party platforms as they wish. The message was then quickly approved by the promotion. Number 7, a sloppy shop. In the early stages of the pandemic, it wasn't uncommon for matches to suddenly be postponed or angles to be dropped in the wake of talents being suddenly forced to isolate at home. In one of the most high-profile cases of this going down, Jon Moxley's titanic clash with Brian Cage over the AEW World Championship was pushed back to Fight for the Fallen. Never one to keep quiet when a chance to make headlines presents itself, Taz took this news as an opportunity to shed some light on the enemy's shoddy handling of the global health crisis. In the wake of a number of WWE talents, Moxley's wife Renee Paquette included, reportedly testing positive, the mouthpiece of Team Taz reminded Mox that if he was able to drag his ass to work the following week, he'd be tested, as we don't run a sloppy shop. Unsurprisingly, those within WWE were said to not be best pleased about their former employees' stinging comments about their, let's say, questionable testing policy. Number 6, the Bucks of Justice. It's those cheeky Bucks again, and this time we focus on the current reigning AEW World Tag Team Champions' fondness for poking fun at WWE's various commodities of the past and present. From Matt Jackson channeling his inner Strowman Express on an episode of Dynamite, to mocking one of WWE's most emotionally compelling sequences ever by parodying Shawn Michaels' declaration of love for the Nature Boy, the finest instance of the Bucks taking a shot in the squared circle to date, however, was reserved for the company's return to live fan-attended pay-per-views at this year's Double or Nothing event. With a bloody Jon Moxley vulnerable beneath them, the two prickish lads locked fists, and Matt let rip with a mighty roar before the former Shield man cut the duo off pre-powerbomb. Roman Reigns, Seth Rollins, and the rest of WWE may not want to acknowledge the competition, but that won't stop AEW's resident books of justice making a mockery of their finest creations. Number 5. When Khans collide. Simply put, Tony Khan isn't one to shy away from calling out his opposition, be that on Twitter or via savage promo on the stick. The latter platform was on show for the world to see towards the back end of May, when TK took aim at WWE Chief Revenue Officer Nick Khan over the promotion's apparent attempts to strike up a working relationship with New Japan Pro Wrestling. Appearing before a special Friday Night Dynamite, the AEW president labeled his WWE rival as a con man from Connecticut, after claiming that the business was only big enough for one Khan. TK also laughed off WWE's expansion plans by boasting about AEW's regular showcasing of New Japan talent and the IWGP United States Championship on Dynamite, signing off his scathing promo by wishing Nick a fun show, throwing shade at SmackDown in the process. Perhaps the most damning part of this entire skit was the fact that Khan later revealed New Japan Pro Wrestling thought it was a great idea for him to shoot on WWE trying to get into bed with the Japanese promotion. Number 4. Matt Hardy passes on a vital piece of advice. For those who have spent the majority of their lives taking in the WWE product as their primary source of wrestling entertainment, the sight of a wrestler awkwardly watching the action go down in the squared circle on a backstage monitor at an entirely unnatural angle has become hilariously accepted, for the most part. I mean, how else are we simple folk going to understand who is watching on if we can't see their glorious jawlines and latest merch in frame at all times? So after joining forces with one of WWE's most recent departing faces at the time, those smart-ass bucks were taught a valuable lesson by a once broken in more ways than one Matt Hardy about how to effectively do TV in October, passing on the valuable old-school tricks and ways that had served himself and so many before him so well over the years. The veteran adjusted the clearly inexperienced to some and produced a brilliant visual gif that just kept on giving. Number 3. That's the way the cookie crumbles. Coming during an episode of Being the Elite, Kingston was put on the spot by the Young Bucks to cut an entire promo on a cookie. Following the cry of action, the masterful mic worker produced a monologue that puts just about everything you heard on the latest episode of Raw to shame. As Dave Meltzer would later note, this was actually a cute dig at a legit device that was used within WWE's promo class to sharpen a performer's mic skills. As it goes, wrestlers were regularly tasked with cutting a promo on random props handed to them in the moment, but we doubt any of them held a candle to Kingston's connection with said cookie. It was chocolate chip brilliance. Number 2. Eddie Kingston sends the people home happy. Admitting that he was likely burning another bridge by declaring this, WWE's consistent refusal to listen to their audience and give them what they wanted was blasted by the former AEW World Championship challenger. Kingston would then go on to decree that you would not see this level of action, legends being treated with respect, or even people like himself on the other channel. Whether you're a fan of all things elite or just think that Kingston should stay in his lane, it's hard to argue with these unfiltered words, or the fact that Tony Khan and his team more than embrace those paying their hard-earned cash to keep AEW alive. Number 1. AEW will quite happily do blood and guts and things of that nature. Vince McMahon will likely rue the day he commented on the competition's constant need to imbue blood and guts into their programming. In the wake of McMahon's now infamous comments during WWE's second quarter 2019 earnings call, AEW would ultimately respond to this damning quote by announcing the arrival of AEW's first ever blood and guts edition of Dynamite. Sure, a global pandemic may have kept the aforementioned special on the back burner for a year, but by the time Blood and Guts and its titular Gorefest finally arrived in May, McMahon was left with egg on his face live on Dynamite, as TNT entertained the promotion's intense carnage once again, and likely not for the last time. AEW, never change, man, never change. And that's our list. Are there any other times AEW fired shots at WWE that we've missed? Let us know all about them in that comment section right down below, and do not forget to like, share, and click on that subscribe button. I've been Gareth from What Culture Wrestling. Thank you as always for clicking on this video today, and I'm sure I'll see you very, very soon. Bye bye!